thinking about what shapes do something useful with sound, I thought about parabolic microphones. And I happen to have this parabolic antenna. And I thought I could clean it up and use it to make a mold to make fiberglass parabolas. And it had some pretty deep pitting, so I used very aggressive sandpaper, 40 grit, 60 grit, then 100, and later finer. So this is after 400 grit. And I'm through all of the pitting. And yes, almost shiny in places. Tomorrow, I'll go through more batteries. 600, maybe 800. And then the next day, probably wet sanding. And then polishing the day after that. And this is getting kind of interesting. This is not corrosion on here. It's like I'm sanding through some metal that was plated on. And that's aluminum, and this darker metal was apparently plated onto the aluminum. And I first started seeing this as a texture like this. It almost looks like orange peel in, like if you painted a car. It looks like that orange peel texture, but it's very smooth. And my guess is that this shape was either stamped out of a piece of metal or spun on a lathe. Probably stamped because they want the exact parabolic shape. But after that, it was plated with some other metal that they thought the paint might stick to better than aluminum. And I'm wet sanding with 400 grit now. I mean, I had been using very aggressive abrasives and was impressed at how thick this coating is. Because I've been grinding at it for days with 80 grit, 100 grit, 160 grit. And I started to burn through to stuff like this. And it's very smooth. I want to see if I can make it mirror smooth, although it doesn't need to be anywhere near that smooth to be a reflector for sound. But the smoother I can make it, the easier the part will separate from the mold. I want to use this to make a mold so that I can make fiberglass parabolas for parabolic microphones and possibly a directional speaker. So, well, I guess there's just a lot more wet sanding to go. This is after 400 grit. And today I will do 1200 grit. Wet or dry, use it wet. This is after 1000 grit. And if I look at an angle, I can start to see that mirror effect. I saw this with gel coat as you were getting close. So, alright. So now will be 2000 grit. And after that, the polishing compound. Okay, this is after 2000 grit. Scratches are very small, and at an angle it is definitely starting to look mirror-like. So I guess next it comes inside for polishing. Oh yeah, it's a mirror.